Good morning. Good morning, Deb. Good morning, Susan. Tuesday morning, June 2nd. Trying to think what happened yesterday. Not too much. Actually, I ran some errands for the first time in a while. My son wanted to stop and get takeout food. I wouldn't recommend doing that. If you've been thinking you should do that, I'd say don't do that. We sat in the drive-through line for like half an hour. I don't know what it is they have to do in there now, but whatever it is really slowing down the process. So fast food is no more. Not such a bad thing. I mean, I could do without it. My son was kind of sad, but on the other hand, we have gotten DoorDash and Uber Eats, which may not be news to you guys, but down here out in the wilderness where we live, we could never get anything like that until very recently. And my older son discovered that, and now he's just, he works nights, so he's got kind of a funny shift. And when he is getting off work in the morning, nothing's open, so he can never get food out. So this idea that he could have food delivered to him when he wakes up in the evening is super exciting. So he's been taking advantage of that, and it seems to be a pretty good system. Seems to work pretty well. So that was my trip out. That and Home Depot, which is another crazy thing. Everyone is trying to do projects. I'm fixing my shed, and everyone in the world is fixing something. A lot of things are out. It's kind of like going to the grocery store and you can't find any toilet paper. Well, can't find any 2x6s. They're very, very highly prized piece of wood. So it's just, how things are now, I guess, for a while. At least until the weather gets bad and nobody wants to be out doing anything. So I may end up having to do all my projects in like August when it's 12,000 degrees and nobody wants to be out doing anything. But there'll probably be plenty of wood by then, so we'll see. All right, so we finished with yamas and niyamas. And I don't think we're going to do anything more with that right now. So I did find a little section here. I was looking at a book and I found a little thing on putting all of this together, which I thought was kind of helpful. So they had kind of a daily practice where they kind of put all of these things together. And they have, they suggest a morning practice of some sort, not a real heavy practice, some asana, some stretches, definitely some breathing, some meditation, and then some quiet time. If you have the time, this would probably be a great time to do a little reading about, or even listen to some chanting or some relaxing sort of music. And then this is also a good time to plan kind of what you want to do for the day. Some people like to do that at night, but I think sometimes it's a little overwhelming, and it also is a little stimulating for when you're trying to go to bed. So rather than kind of plan your day the night before, take a little time in the morning to do that, and that might mean getting up a little earlier. Although I don't know, there's no time anymore. There's no days, so maybe you don't have to. And then they suggest that you want to have kind of mid morning and mid afternoon is a good time to do a little stretching, do a little, rolling the shoulders and lifting the arms, depending on what you're doing. If you've been sitting all day, get up and move around a little. They're recommending, obviously breakfast in the morning, midday, some kind of lunch, a little heavier than, breakfast. And then maybe walking sometime in the midday. After you eat is really good. It kind of helps stimulate the digestion. And then they're recommending, this is a book that I have. I think this is from the Himalayan Institute. So it's called Yoga Basics. It's a very good book. I would recommend it. It's kind of old timey. I mean, it's not. I like it because it's kind of old timey. It isn't. There's not a lot of fancy pictures and whatever. But it's very straightforward. It's got some simple routines you could do. It's got information on all the different aspects of yoga. So they're recommending brisk exercise in the late afternoon. So that's, probably a good thing to kind of get. So that time when you're sort of slumping, maybe 3 or 4 o'clock, that would be a great time to do a more vigorous type of activity. They are recommending a swim, tennis, or a hatha yoga class. So hatha yoga is that's sort of the first yoga that came to this country. So hatha yoga, how that's different from vinyasa. Vinyasa is more movement, more the sun salutations and the moving from one pose to the next. Hatha is very stationary. You just go from one pose to the next pose. But it's basically the same. The poses are the same and all that. But hatha is more traditional. Like that's what you'd find people talking more traditional. Vinyasa, and vinyasa is, I teach vinyasa. It's not. There's nothing wrong with vinyasa, but I think vinyasa in our country has gotten kind of a bad rap because it's that sort of stylish and gymmy, kind of like if you go to the Y, they're gonna do a lot of vinyasa, and it's generally kind of fast paced. It's people think of it more of a fitnessy type of yoga, right? Nothing wrong with that, it's good, but it's a little different. I mean, it's hard to be kind of meditative, I think, in that, because a lot of times you're sweating like crazy and you're trying not to fall down. But that has its place, right? So that would be a strenuous practice. So that would also be, and of course, this might not work for you. Maybe you don't like doing things like that late in the afternoon. But this recommendation is based on most people's digestion, most people's, sort of your body clock, because they talk about in Ayurveda how important it is to be on kind of a circadian rhythm with your body and your life, so that you are getting to bed earlier and getting up earlier. Ideally, and I was just reading an article about this, how going camping is so good because just a few days, in just a few days of getting up, when it starts to get light, and going to bed when it starts to get dark, we actually reset our body clock so that everything in our body is kind of functioning the way it's supposed to, instead of artificially, keeping yourself up with the lights and then trying to sleep much beyond when the sun's up. Apparently very stressful on the body. And then evening, a meal, but not too heavy, light meal, and early, so that you have plenty of time to digest before you're trying to sleep. And then I kind of love this. They talk about unwinding after your meal with gardening. I always garden at night. I do, actually, because it's so hot, especially when it gets later in the year. Um, it is so hot that sometimes after dinner is sort of the best time to do some gardening. A family activity or some other enjoyable pastime. I noticed that TV watching isn't mentioned here. Perhaps that would go under enjoyable pastime. But again, something light, something that kind of unwinds you from your day, not something that's going to amp you up and get you crazy. And then before bedtime is another good time to read something inspiring, or um, sort of a spiritual thing, maybe something that kind of takes you into that spiritual realm. Um, Contentment, right? That's a great time to practice that santosha, right? Working on being content, feeling content. Um, and then praying or meditating or doing some relaxation movement. It's a great time for that too. Um, so setting kind of a schedule for some of these things. Now, it's hard, I know, because our days are frequently kind of hectic, but if we can kind of shoot for setting some of these habits, morning habit and evening habit or night habit before you go to bed, those are probably the easiest, because those are the times that you have the most control over. The stuff in the middle, sometimes other people are getting in the way there, causing things to change. But that's a good place to start, those two places. And I noticed that the beginning and the end of the day, if you can get them organized, um, everything else kind of falls into place. So I would start there. Um, and I can't really stress enough this idea of getting yourself ready for sleep. A lot of people do have trouble sleeping, and this time when things are very kind of chaotic and there's a lot of bad news coming down the line, it can be very hard. So we want to stick to these habits that we are building, where we take some time away from the electronics, put the phone away, get off the computer, don't turn off the TV, um, and know that, whatever's going on, you can find out about it tomorrow. You don't need it tonight. Tonight, you need a good night's sleep. Um, and give yourself a little time, have a little ritual that you go through. Make it peaceful and relaxing. And I think you'll find there's a difference. And again, just like we do the habit with yoga every day, or every other day, or whatever your habit is, it becomes just part of your day. It's not something you have to think about so much. We just do it. We just do it. All right. So I'm going to get going here. But before we do, I have to text my husband, because I think my wood delivery's here, and I I think someone's going to start pounding on my door in a minute. I don't know why they always do this at 9 o'clock. It seems like everything always happens at 9 o'clock here. It's that thing. So we'll see. I think Dave will be able to take care of it. That's one great thing about having people home. You're not the only person that's in the house. Hopefully he's not on the call. We'll see. All right. Some asana. I just messed with everything. Okay. I'm just sitting up tall, breathing and relaxing. Notice any sensations in the body. Taking note and, being careful with the places that might need that today. One more breath, and then chin down toward the chest. We'll start moving the head around. Make a big circle. And then reversing. Back to center. Take a breath, lean forward, and moving around. One way and the other. Back up to your seat, arms wide. Take a deep breath. Exhale, hands together. Inhale wide. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Interlace the fingers. Lift the hands, gaze up. And then arms down by your side. Inhale, lift. Lower. Lift. And lower. One more, lifting up. Right arm down by your side, reach across. And then switch sides. And back up. Lift the shoulders, roll back. So yeah, this is a very simple movement, but this is very helpful if you're sitting at your desk all day, or you just feel like a lot of shoulder tension. If you're working on things up over your head, holding things, this will get tight. So this is a great thing to just do anytime in the day. Loosen things up. And then tabletop. We'll sit back on the heels. Child's pose. Back up. Tabletop, moving the spine a little. Inhales, lift the head, drop the belly, and then reverse that. Moving with your breath, inhales and exhales. And then let's sit back again. Child's pose. We have the arms extended out in front. And we're going to bring the left hand to center here and the right hand on top so that you're kind of peeking under that right arm. That's another way to stretch out the shoulders. And then switch. So right hand is underneath, left hand on top, and we're looking the other way. Back to center. Stack the fists, rest your forehead. And back up, tabletop to downward dog. Walk it out a little. And step the feet up to the hands. And we're here in a fold. And then rising up slowly. Tall in your mountain, breath in and out. Inhale, lift the arms. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. On the exhale, right foot steps back. Drop your knee down, arms overhead. Hands down to the mat, stepping back. Downward dog. Inhale, high plank. And then lower down. Inhale, lifting up head and chest. Exhale. Inhale, lift. Lower. Last one. Lifting up head and chest, or if you want to come all the way up, upward dog. Ending up back in downward dog. Take one more breath. And on the exhale, we're stepping the right foot up. Drop the left knee down, arms overhead. And then hands down to the mat, step the back foot up, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift arms high. Back to mountain. Take a breath. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, left foot steps back. Set your knee down, arms overhead. Hands to the mat. Moving back, downward dog. Inhale, moving forward to high plank. Lower down. Inhale, lift, head and chest. Then lower. Inhale, lift. And lower. Once more, head and chest or upward dog. Then downward dog. Take one more breath in, and then on the exhale, we're stepping left foot up. Right knee down to the mat, arms overhead. And then hands to the mat. Step the back foot up and fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Lifting on the inhale. Back to mountain. Take a breath. Inhale, lift the arms. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, stepping back with the left. We'll press down with both feet. Arms lift overhead. Warrior one. Let's bring the hands down to the mat. Folding over the right leg, we're going to straighten. And if you can't reach all the way down to the mat, maybe you're going to be up here. That's okay. We're just working to kind of straighten out that right leg. And then we're going to walk the hands around to the left. So we're facing the side of the mat now. Hands can be on the mat or on the legs. We're just going to let everything be however it wants to be here. Just letting the body lean forward. Let your head hang loose. And then we're going to bring the right hand to the center, either onto the mat or onto a block. Or you might have hands here if you're not reaching the floor. We're just going to start to take a twist. So left hand at the waist, twisting. Here, you might extend the arm. And then back to center. We're going to switch. And then back to center. Hands to the waist. Engage the strength in the legs to lift you up. Breath in, breath out. And then we're going to face the front again. Right foot is out, left foot behind. Interlace the fingers behind you. Draw the shoulders back. Take a deep breath and fold. Rising back up. Back foot steps to the front, arms overhead, and back to mountain. Take a breath. Inhale. Lift the arms. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. On the exhale, we're stepping back with the right. Press down with both feet. Arms lift. Warrior one. And then hands down to the floor or onto your leg. We're just kind of folding over here, stretching through that left leg. And then let's walk the hands around. So we're facing the side of the mat. We've got the hands down here again. Maybe grab a hold of the feet if you want, or you could walk the hands behind you and kind of draw the body down further. Just sort of experimenting with whatever you like here. And when you're ready, hands back to the waist, lifting up slowly, standing tall. Maybe bring the arms up over the head. And then down by your side, let's walk the feet in. So we're about shoulder width apart, hands together. Take a breath in. And then we're going to bend the knees, coming down into Malasana, yogi squat here. So nice and upright with the body. One more breath. Rising back up. Release the hands and we're turning. Facing the front again. Left foot is out, right foot behind. Interlace the fingers, shoulders back. Deep breath and fold. Press down with the left foot, rising up. Back foot steps to the front. Arms overhead. Back to mountain. Take a breath. let's do a few balance. So tree, because we love tree. We always do tree. Tree is the best. Standing upright. We've got the right knee turned to the side. Hands to center, extending if you want, but maybe just staying to center. So tree really is good. It's a good balance. Also, you've got this knee turned to the side. That's what makes this tricky. Most of these standing poses, we don't do that. And that makes them much more straightforward. Once we get something out onto the side, that changes things. It makes it more challenging, right? So, not in a bad way, in a good way. Bring the foot down. Let's switch. Standing on the right. And breathe. And then setting the foot down. Bicycle your legs. And let's do dancers today. So arms overhead. We're going to drop the right hand down. Turn this way. Catch the foot. Steady here. Knees together. Find that balance. And then you might stay here, or if you feel like you've got some extra today, maybe you're going to extend. But again, it's your choice. Always, a wall or table or something can be helpful just to give yourself a little steadiness when you get started. And then sort of gently come back up, release, and then we'll cartwheel arms around. So loosening up the shoulders again. And then the left side, same thing. Bending left knee, catching the foot. Finding your steadiness. And then some extension maybe. Moving back up. When you're ready, you can always take a little extra time with this too. If you have just got it, right? If you were struggling and now you feel like you have it, you want to spend a little extra time, feel free. On the other hand, if you've had plenty and you're done, that's fine too. Just cartwheel the arms around. Back up, top of the mat. Lift the arms. Deep breath. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, moving back. Downward dog. Come on forward, high plank. And then lower down. Head turns to the right. Arms can be by the side. Just take a couple of breaths. Come on back to center. And we're going to do Sphinx Pose. So, propping up on the elbows. Hands are pressing down. And we're going to kind of pull the shoulders back. Squeeze everything towards the back. Tops of the feet resting on the mat. Steady gaze. If you feel something in the lower back, maybe bring feet a little wider on the mat. Gives you a little more room. And then lower down. Head turns left. And then back to center. Moving up. Tabletop, child's pose. Tabletop, downward dog. And then stepping up, coming down to a seat on your mat. You've got soles of the feet together, sit up tall, and leaning forward. Shoulders back. Keep breathing. And back up. Both legs out in front. Inhale. Lift the arms, fold forward. And back up. Bend the knees. You've got soles of the feet to the mat. Got some room behind you. Lower down. Take a few breaths here. Get comfortable. And then we've got soles of the feet to the mat. Knees are bent. We're going to bring right ankle on top of the left knee. You can stay here. There's a lot of tension in that right hip, or we'll just bring that left thigh in closer, making this a little more intense. And then releasing. Let's switch sides. And breathe. And then resting the feet back down to the mat. We're getting ready for bridge. Heels back, close to the body, hands by your side, and then press down, hands and feet, lifting up the hips. And when you're ready, lowering down. Soles of the feet together, knees apart. And relax. Knees together. Bring them into the chest. Let's rock a little side to side. And then arms out to a T or goalpost. Lowering both knees over to the right. Back to center and moving left. Back to center. Extend the legs straight up. And then lowering down. Find a comfortable place to rest on the mat for Shavasana. So in all things, we are finding balance. Within our practice, right? Within our balance, we have a legitimate balance portion of the practice. Right? It's that important, but balance in all things. Balance in our life. This idea of finding that middle place between effort and ease. So we aren't killing ourselves, but we aren't just couch potatoes either. We are walking that middle place. And for whatever reason, that middle place is very hard to stay on. We tend to veer from one to the other. And it seems to be very hard to stay on that path. But I think, like everything else, it takes practice. It takes experience. And I guess in many respects, knowledge of the consequences. Veering from one to the other is not just physically, but mentally very destructive. We waste a great deal of energy doing this. And we lose momentum. We lose our ground, really. I mean, if you think about staying on one path as opposed to running over to one side, running over to the other. It's literally just going to take you longer to get where you want to go. So finding that balance. And we want this in our world as well, right? There is always a trade-off. We want our freedom, but we also want protection. We want liberty, right? We want the ability to do what we want, but we want to be safe from everyone else doing what they want. We want to be able to drive on the roads, but we'll wear our seatbelts, right, to be safe. We want to be out and doing things, but right now, masks are something that we need to be safe. So again, we're balancing our needs with the needs of others, because in the end, it's all the same thing. Right? If we are all one, if we all are equal and really components of the universe, each and every one of us is a piece of that divine. No matter how low, no matter how high, no matter what we may think of ourselves or of someone else, they are a part of that divine. So when we injure someone, we injure ourselves. We injure all of us, the divine. When we know this, it certainly changes our behavior. It certainly changes maybe our perception of what acceptable behavior is. So that makes things simple, right? There aren't a lot of gray areas. There's no way to interpret that incorrectly. Loving your neighbor as yourself, because we are one. Every culture kind of has come to the same conclusion. If not perhaps as literally as we do in sort of yoga philosophy, and this is kind of big in Buddhist philosophy as well, this idea of the one. So find the balance. And we also speak of, as within, so without. So when you are balanced in your own self, you then can project that balance out into the world. It's very hard to practice that loving kindness for others if you don't feel it for yourself. If you are driving yourself harshly, if you have no love for yourself and no concern, any love or concern that you have for others is false. It's forced and projected. It isn't coming from you organically. And I guess that's the other sort of beauty of when you feel balanced inside, when you have sort of tamed or at least trained some of that, then it's not hard to be kind to others. It's not hard to have compassion for others. It springs from you like water from a spring. It's a natural byproduct of what you've done inside. So as much as what we do in the world is important, what we do within is the basis. It's the beginning. It's where we must all begin. So I like a quote. I think it's from Benjamin Franklin. And it's a money quote, but it makes so much sense for all these things. And I think it is, pay attention to the cents and the dollars will take care of themselves. And it works for so many things. If you pay attention to what seems perhaps like a small detail or something internal, when you have that in order, everything else falls into place. And as we spoke earlier about this sort of morning and evening routine, it's not a bad place to start. Those are your scents. Right? If you can work on getting those on a consistent, in a way that you can consistently do them and feel comfortable with them, you will see the dollar of your day will come together in a much more effective way. When you are ready, beginning to move a little, fingers and toes, hands and feet, maybe stretching, and then make your way up to your seat. We'll bring hands together, deep breath in and out. Thank you for taking some time this morning for yoga, for sharing it with me and with everyone here. I hope you have a really great rest of the day. Namaste. Okay, Tuesday's class is done. Thank you for coming. And I hope they left my wood outside. I think maybe they did. See, this was a great opportunity for me to practice mindfulness, right? So if I don't pay attention to what's going on in class, I lose track. And then I go off, I forget something, gets messed up. So my mind can't wander. I need to know what's coming next. I need to pay attention to that and keep track of what I did before, and so that we have a balanced practice. And when I have little distractions like that, like I'm hearing some movement out there, I'm like, it sounds like someone's up on the porch. I wonder what's going on. Where's that wig going? I got to come right back, right? So those distractions are great teachers. They challenge us. If everything in life were so easy, we'd never learn anything. We'd never learn how to control our mind or keep our focus on the things that are happening now. There would be no need. So don't be annoyed by distractions. Think of them as teachers. Think of them as obstacles for you to work through, for you to get past. It not only it truly is that. I mean, it truly is a teaching moment, but it also changes how you look at things. It changes how you feel about things when you see them as something that can help you instead of something that is just making you crazy. So there you go. All right. Well, if you don't have questions, I'm going to wait for a minute to see. Then I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we will have class, even though it's my birthday. So I'm super happy to have class on my birthday. And I remember in school, I was always sad because my birthday, I don't know how long school goes now, but when I was in school, we never were in class on my birthday. So I could never bring cupcakes to school, and it was just really harsh for me. That was my really hard thing about growing up, right? No cupcakes in class. Um, so I'm always uh, I'm always glad when I have something I can share on my birthday. Unfortunately, I can't bring you any cupcakes. Maybe I could show you a cupcake or something. Um, I don't know. We'll do something. Something. I'll think of something. I don't know. Oh, thank you for coming to class, Ruth. All right. Well, I'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day.